Great.
Good. In the meantime, like Natalia said, I'd like to welcome everybody to today's session. We are very thankful for Sarah Richson being able to provide spare her time as well and be the host or a guest speaker in today's meeting. She'll be talking, engaging workforce remotely, employees remotely today. That will be the theme of today's session, and we'll be discussing what needs to be done moving forward. How is it going to be? How is it affecting businesses? As HR people, what is our role to play within the organizations as we're looking, to get a sense of settling down to what is normal, but not the normal that we used to know it. That's the best ones I can find for it. So it will be more involving how you manage your employees, engagement, policy when drafting new policies, procedures, things to do with recruitment as well, and just management of employees from a holistic point of view. So yeah, I will be very welcome to hear your thoughts throughout the meeting. For any questions, please just type them on the chat there, and we can be able to go through that as we go by through the session itself. So ladies and gentlemen, I think you guys are still coming in. I'm admitting them. I would like us to maybe start by brief introductions from our speakers for today.
Thank you so much, Jackson. That was absolutely great. And I also have to reinforce your message to say that I am genuinely excited that Sarah Richson is here with us today. When I say she's one of the most international, most knowledgeable HR individuals, and I know firsthand every time I've had a challenge and I've reached out to Sarah, she's always turned very complicated situation in very simple, calm down, sit down, take a breath, let's look at it, and everything just seems to be sorted. So I am, as I said, genuinely excited to have Sarah today on board, and I know that what we will be the value that she will be adding, and what we really want to, we will cover a variety of areas, but really looking at how do we engage remote workers in Kenya, but more importantly, do we have what we call a return to work plan? COVID will remove itself at some point, I'm praying, but either way, we need to not just think of how things are changing, but also start looking at a plan of action. How do we go back? So the majority of the meeting today will really be over to Sarah so she can enrich us with her knowledge in different areas. And then what I would like to do is just take the last few minutes, maybe the last 10 minutes to take you through a little bit on recruitment. What are the challenges in recruitment? A lot of people think, oh my God, a lot of businesses have halted recruiting, but you'll be surprised. Just Work sent out 5 offer letters this month alone, and we still have a few more offers to go out. So businesses are hiring. I've had quite a lot of my candidates or career coachees come to me and say, I've got an interview here and an interview there. So I think there is maybe a halt, but there are still movements going. So I hope to add a little bit of value when it comes to recruitment, just give you a few pointers. So we'll start with Sarah. So let me just, for those of you who don't know Just Work, let me just give you a quick introduction. Just Work has a missing you because we are looking for you. We can't spell success without you. It's all about you. So justwork.com was launched coming up to about 3 years now. We are essentially focused on recruitment, headhunting, and then career development. So these are really the 2 main branches in what we do and support. A little bit about myself for those who've not come across. I am normally put under the bracket of HR, but I have to say I am only a specialist within HR. Sarah is what I would say a really what we call HR. And as it is interesting, HR 20 years ago was called personnel, and we've moved now to transition and change management, and HR is only going to grow in its role and how catalyst it is for businesses to really develop right policies, procedures, protect themselves from a legal point of view, and also retain the staff and achieve the business objectives. So, but from my end, just being a recruiter, I would say that over the last 16 years, I genuinely have interviewed at least over 18,000 people. I've hired and onboarded more than 1,500, and I've done this across 70 countries. So really just a talent broker is what I am, sitting in the middle. So Sarah, as I was saying, absolutely phenomenal. She's presented globally. She's really one of the most, absolutely across all of Africa, worked in the UK many, many years, but an absolutely phenomenal. Sarah, I cannot do justice enough of your experience. Please let me hand over to you to present yourself to the team.
Thank you so much, Natalia. Thank you. Thank you everyone for coming today to at least listen to what we have to say around engaging remote workers. My name is Sarah Richson. For those of you who've never met me before, I'm seeing familiar names. I think I've met quite a few of you as I train at IHRM. I train for many other organizations as well. I'm the CEO at Richmail International, which is my consulting firm. We work very closely with Natalia on various issues, HR matters. I'm very passionate about HR. I have work experience of over 25 years. And basically today we are facing a new normal, and I'd love to touch on areas that we can actually look at in terms of the new normal. Natalia, maybe if you let me share my screen. Yeah,
Perfect.
and maybe
Fantastic.
I can kick off.
Yeah.
So basically we all know that we are going through a new normal now. And one of the key things that we need to do is look at how do we engage our remote workers? How do we get into the new space of COVID-19? And Natalia, let me know if you can see my slides now. Yeah. And how do we, okay, excellent. How do we continue to, how do we return to work by staying at home? Many of you, if you've attended my classes, have been talking about incorporating home working and flexible working procedures and policies into what we do as HR. Many people actually have taken me to task in classes and told me that what I was teaching is probably working in the UK, because I lived and worked there for nearly 20 years, and I worked 12 of those years from home. Working for various organizations, but I worked from home because I was bringing up my family. And people used to tell me that will never work in Africa, there'll never be the trust levels, the technology can't hold it down, the mindsets of employees and managers just is not there. Africa is looking at that maybe in the next 50 years. And then 2020 happened, and then COVID-19 happened, and here we are. It's so funny that we are having to have this conversation because something pushed us into it. And every time I teach about balance, I talk about being off balance. Off balance is one of the perfect ways for us to actually move to where we need to go to. Because when everything is balanced and we are always in the right place, the right space of mind, we cannot challenge our mindsets and the way we approach things, especially even in the HR space. This morning, I was just telling Natalia, I've done 2 webinars. This is my 3rd one. And one of the webinars, I was talking about learning and development in the new era. And I was saying, I mean, when we used to talk about online learning and everything, when we used to say, let me have an online session for coaching and everything, nobody used to want to listen to that. But now that is becoming actually the key thing. Now, one of the key things I want to talk about is things start and stop with leadership. So if we are going to go into this new space, then definitely we are going to have to relook at leadership in this new space of working from home. Leaders are the ones who are going to help engage. And in terms of leadership, I'm looking at middle management, I'm looking at first line managers, I'm also looking at the executive. One of the key points that people are going to play right now in terms of leadership is the middle management. And I'd like HR to start focusing on the middle managers and equipping them with skills to work with people who they can't see. And how do you do that? One of the first things is you have to share your leadership forte. You will have to learn and be driven by trust. I can't see Natalia. Natalia cannot see me. We spoke about even organizing this and collaborating and doing this. We did not meet at any point, but she needed to trust that Sarah will show up on time. And I needed to trust that when I've been given this link and I log in, I will actually be able to log in and find that it's going ahead. So I can put aside my time to do it. This is the same thing that is coming into organizations. We are going to return back to work, but trust is going to sit at the center of many things. A lot of the trainings I'm doing is around building trust within your leadership teams. You have to trust your employees to be able to deliver. So you don't have to wake up in the morning and start checking what time did they wake up. Are you online? Have you called me? Are you working? Are you not working? And things like that. And also sharing leadership in terms of looking at a person rather than talent. So we are not hiring talent as much as we are hiring people. And we are managing people as well. So it is going to be holistic. You cannot ask Sarah to do something without taking into context. If you were here earlier, I mean, we were having a conversation. The first question Natalia asked me when I logged on was, how am I'm feeling? 2 days ago, we were having a chat and I told her I wasn't feeling well. And today, thankfully, the first thing she asked me was, Sarah, how are you feeling? So that is how our leaders and our middle managers will need to look at people and employees going forward. To engage our employees, we are no longer going to just have performance conversations and what did you do and tasks and everything. We are going to have to look at how are you as a person, not just how are you as what you bring to the table. Cross-generational teams are coming up. We are going to have expert power shifting across generations. Because of technology taking a big role in the post-COVID-19, and in terms of working from home, if you were here earlier, again, we were talking about technology, and I was sharing with Natalia that for me, everything I'm doing is run at the back end by my daughter. She's at university, but I have a team of young people who are helping me run the technology. So it's not how many years of experience you have and everything in this day and age, it's also how tech savvy can you be. So it's important that we start looking and respecting cross-generational teams and expert power shifting across the generations because technology is driving that. Functional leadership is becoming very key, and I'll talk about the key functions now in terms of post-COVID-19 and managing this crisis. Tools are very key for every leader. Now you are going to have a toolkit for leadership. It's not just to show up and you start saying this and that, but you need tools to be able to manage performance, manage conversations, manage communication, reward and recognition. So you need to pull yourself together with a good toolkit. Cultural shifts and mindset shifts have to come into place. You have to know that your male employees will be helping to cook in the kitchen or helping to babysit the children. Children are learning from home. Sometimes we're in one room and one of my daughters has a course, I have to work, my husband has a meeting and whatever, and we are in one room. And for many employees, sometimes even there's not enough space even to be able to do those three types of things. So we will need to have a bit of a mind shift and a cultural shift into the roles of male and female and gender and everything, going into the post-COVID era. It's also important to be able to think about the fog. Pay attention to the fog. As professionals, especially in HR, as leaders, as executives, there's so much going on in an employee's headspace right now. People are working from home, as we say, but what Sarah likes to say is people are not working from home. People are managing a global crisis while trying to put in some work at home. I repeat, people are managing a global pandemic and crisis while trying to put in some work at home. So what does that mean for us, even as organizations? We have to look at what is going on in people's minds and hearts, even as we're asking them to put in some work. If you had a sick child, or you had a sick nation, or you had things going on emotionally, or deaths, or whatever, going on all around you, would you be in the same state of mind in terms of being able to perform? So please pay attention to the fog. Sometimes your employees will be going through a foggy state and everything, even as they're working from home. Our return to work plans have to put in, either we are going to have health workers or hotlines to be able to manage that, or counselors or coaches who will walk alongside the employees to help them actually navigate the fog. The other thing I want us to remember is the role of HR, finance, and IT. Traditionally, we have been seen as the roles that are actually support roles. We've been called support roles. For years, Sarah Richson has been calling these functions enablers. Anywhere I've been a HR director or a HR leader, I've refused to call them support roles. I have called them enablers. Why? Because I always knew there is no organization that is functioning or succeeding without a level of HR, finance, and Right now, technology is actually coming into the enabler roles. So there's a lot of exploitation of these roles. There's a lot of job losses around these roles. But let me tell you, I've started giving advisory even to boards and executives within organizations. And that room, I always say, bring in the HR person and bring in the finance person. COVID is around, do we have the money? Can we keep the people? And if we can't keep the people, what do we need to do about the people? If we are going to keep them, then how is that keeping going to look like? Are we going to recontract? Are we going to do other things? And those are the things that I wanted us to also talk about. So in terms of managing people remotely, one of the key things is to understand what are the things that are going to satisfy, what are the things that will become basics, and what are the things that become delighters. So the basic things is the management by fear. We've always been managing by fear. Where are you? What are you doing? How well are you performing and things like that? And maybe bullying people. Managing time. We've been focused on managing time. Sarah clocked in. I've paid her to work from 8 a.m. until 6 p.m. And so I'm checking that she has worked from 8 until 6 p.m. And managing activities. By the way, for me, and if there's anyone listening who's ever worked in my teams, they know I don't manage activities. I don't have time for that. In fact, I write an email and I say, if I become your manager, please don't ever send to me your list of activities and what you have done today. I'm interested in your outcomes. So we are moving to what are the things that satisfy. It's not performance appraisals, it's performance conversations. You're having a conversation and you're actually buying into the heart set and the mindset of a person at this time and age because it's a crisis. You want them to deliver. So you want to have a conversation, not an appraisal. You want to have a holistic knowledge of the people issues going on with your team. How many have children? How many don't? How many have rent? How many are struggling with those things and whatever? It is becoming a role that we have to take on. So I don't want to hear these things people keep asking, to what level should we know about people? This is now the time. We have to know people from a holistic perspective. If you do that and if you care that much, that is how you're actually going to excel. The delightful things is using emotional intelligence. Mucha and I were in another session, and I think some of you were in that session as well this morning. And we were talking about emotional intelligence, communicating in these days and time, learning outcomes and things like that. We need to manage outcomes. We need to listen actively. Especially if you're doing things remotely, you need to try and be able to perceive what the person is saying or not saying. So the key thing and the key change right now is to unlearn and relearn and innovate. And HR is going to lead innovation. We are not going to think that techies now, the ones of business ops are going to lead innovation. It is HR directors, HR leaders, HR teams. It is IT and finance teams that are going to lead that conversation. In terms of policies, as I try to wrap up, is to look at where do we need to strengthen policy areas and guidelines. There's a lot of COVID-19 policies right now. I'm writing as Richmail. We are putting together so many handbooks or rewriting or reviewing. Before you do your back to work plan, you have to think, are the policies going to sustain? You can't just send people to work from home and you haven't put guidelines about working from home, about ergonomics, about things like that. Now, we're going to have policies around whether, it depends on your type of organization, if they're dealing, if you have a huge employee population that is dealing with customers on a daily basis, you have to protect them. And so who buys the masks? Is it you, the company, or is it employees? What types of masks? Is it the cloth ones that they buy and they can put in, it becomes now a fashionable thing, or are you going to buy the blue ones or whatever? Gloves, you know, to what level? Maybe if you're in a company that deals with toxic products and everything, and you haven't thought about gloves and sanitizers, it's going to become the order of the day. But again, you have to put in guidelines and policies around these things for a sustainable future. You have to guide the organization in terms of health and safety. Some of our managers have never even seen, they don't even understand what health and safety means and how important those things are in terms of having first aiders, fire safety, fire drills and everything. But now we can't joke with those kinds of things. And now if people are working from home, what about their health and safety and well-being? People were asking me in the L&D session that I was doing earlier this morning, what are the things we need to teach? I said, it is policy you need to train. This year you're training on policy, and the new era of crisis. Put in crisis teams in your organization, even if they're working remotely, but they can come together very quickly to brainstorm on some of these policies. Look at having hotlines for counseling. Right now they've said domestic violence has increased. The data from Kenya, and I was doing something with the World Bank the other day, the data for the women being abused at home and expected to work or losing their income and losing jobs because of this type of violence. So there's a lot of gender inequity in these things. Also, your employee assistance programs should not be that cliche line that is just appearing in your policy or somewhere on your website that has never been practiced. This is the time for you to go back and look at how practical can we utilize our employee assistance programs. Look at your flexible working guidelines. Have you produced guidelines for working from home? Is Sarah sitting on a stool, or is she sitting with a chair with a good backrest? How many hours is she sitting down without a break? Does she know the importance of having a break and everything? So those are some of the things that you need to consider. Sorry guys, again, there's a lot of noise coming from a building thing that is happening near me. But again, this is what is going to happen with technology. I can only apologize. There's nothing I can do about the noise, but it will go down in a minute. Part-time working, there are people who will want to work part-time. I told you earlier, I worked from home for 12 years, so I have a lot of guidance in that space. But one of the things that I managed to negotiate was the days and how I want to work and staggering my hours. There are days I wanted to work up to 12 hours a day, and there are days I wanted to work 4 hours a day because of the children, because of other commitments that I had and everything. So part-time working should come in. Instead of all your employees losing a whole team, you can retain the whole team, but ask them to work maybe half days or mornings or afternoons, depending on what shifts they want to take. You can have staggered hours where somebody starts maybe at 10 and finishes at 6, and another one starts at 5 a.m. and finishes by 1 p.m. So the whole afternoon, they have it for free. Believe you me, and I've been saying this, and it's coming back, the no-leave policies. I mean, Richard Branson managed to do that, and it's coming back again. Emergency leave, care leave, you know, time off to care for your relatives and everything is coming back also as something very key. We are going to look at recontracting our employees. And so what are your guidelines and policies around that? What types of contracts are you open to thinking about? If people are going to work from home, some of them want to go on a 0-hour contract, whereby actually they are only paid for the hours that they are actually doing. Or some want unpaid leave long-term because they have become carers suddenly. And some are actually asking for consulting contracts rather than employee contracts. And so they can sort their own tax and, you know, hours of work and things like that. And for those employees that we are losing, what have we put together in terms of having a revolving door? That maybe I can't sustain or afford you today, but probably I'd like you to come back in the next year or so. So how are you creating a revolving door even in terms of your recruitment and your exit policies? And I'm sure Natalia will touch on some of those things. Looking at the new workforce. I'm talking a lot around the liquid workforce. Paul Casimo and I were talking to UAP, and he was sharing how in Safaricom, I think there's a huge percentage of the employees in the liquid workforce. Liquid workforce is whereby a firm draws from a variety of resources in order to meet your business needs. And so you can have actually a squad set up just to deal with a product. And once the product is finished, you let it go. Or you can outsource non-core functions and things like that. Or you can have now here banks, a lot of the banks that I'm advising and everything, I'm seeing flexi-tellers. Flexi-tellers are coming in during the high season of maybe between 23rd of the month and 10th of the next month. That is the high period where a lot of customers are coming into the bank. And so we have that group that just comes in and adds to the payroll for that time, and then they go off on the 10th. So these are some of the policies, the guidelines, the things that we need to be putting on when we are putting together a back to work plan. You also have to remember that because people are coming back to work while working from home, motivation becomes very key. And please don't tell me that motivation is like a shower. Oh, I showered yesterday, so I don't need to shower today. You have to shower every day. So you need to motivate your teams every day. And managers need to learn how to motivate every day and engage their employees. I've always said that engagement comes at 3 levels. The first level of engagement is rational engagement. Do people understand their current contracts? Do they understand the current issues facing them? Do they understand the policies? And do they understand the job description? You need to re-describe the job. Some of us are sitting on a job description that was written in 1988 or 1998, and COVID has surpassed that. We will need to do a lot of work again in terms of our documentation and relieving post-COVID times. Then the second level of engagement, once people know what is expected of them, they have all the documentation and everything, you have to go to the second level of engagement, which is motivation. Just because I know what is required of me doesn't mean I want to do it. Just because I woke up on a Monday and came to work doesn't mean I'm sitting here and actually working. I could be daydreaming, I could be demotivated, I could be thinking of other things. You know, I was coaching someone around thinking the other day, and I was telling them there's a key strategy and key tools to helping you think in a better way. Otherwise, that fog keeps on, you know, taking over your mind. And we are going to play a very key role right now, even as HR, as leaders, as employees, in terms of managing our own fogs and managing internal motivation. So you can't let external things demotivate you all the time and make you lose focus. And then the next thing, and this happens especially when you're working from home, you're not seeing your teammates, you're not having somebody who can tap your shoulder and tell you, oh, things will be okay and everything. And the third level of engagement is emotional engagement, making sure people are not only understanding what they need to do, they're motivated to do it, but emotionally, they're engaged because they feel you care about them. We are having conversations and arguments with organizations that don't even want to buy masks for the employees, let alone there are organizations out there that are actually buying masks for the employee and their children and their house helps. And I hope even you, even on a personal level, what are you doing as social responsibility or even personal citizenship? This is the era of public health issues becoming issues at a personal level. You need to have personal responsibility and citizenship to others, to help others. For everything that you're facing, somebody else is facing something much more. So please, we need to take care of motivation for employees who are going to work from home. And finally, I just want to talk about, we need to reprioritize and go into an emergent business strategy. We can no longer remain in terms of our businesses with prescribed business strategies. Some of us had our strategy 2020 to 2025 written out, laid out nicely with goals and everything, but now it's all thrown out. So first thing is rethink your reward and recognition. You need to rethink employee engagement and become holistic. You need to rethink your workspaces and the tools you're using. You need to rethink your learning and development and lean more to social learning tools and social learning approaches to everything. And with that, I thank you so much. And over to you, Natalia.
Wow, Sarah, that is phenomenal. That absolutely, I think you hit so many points. And what I really took away from this is that as a company, you will be judged on how you treated your employees during COVID. I think there's a lot of companies kind of jumping on the bandwagon and I'm going to give you this for free and that for free and lots of that stuff. But I think the reality of, because being a career coach, every time somebody loses a job like yourself, you know, they reach out to you, hey. So I've really seen a lot of senior people not treated very nicely in the way they have been offboarded. And I think it is gone beyond, as you said, really gone beyond, you know, what time are you coming in? What time are you leaving? And I've also learned that I still do a little bit of what have you done today to my staff, and I will change that to say, what value have you brought in today? So that was a lot of takeaway points, quite a lot. I'd love to get any questions if anybody has got any questions. It'd be great if you could just type them in the chat. Any experience that you may have had. This is a really good time, guys, to ask Sarah very good questions. You know, especially because a lot of African companies may be SMEs, but we still need, you know, have we all sent a COVID communication to our employees? How often do we do that? How, you know, do you go above? And a lot of HR is still struggling because some lines of business have never worked from home, you know, so it's that I want to monitor, I want to see. So I actually think what Corona will do is put us in a much positive, or at least I'm looking to get the positivity out of the Corona situation, but I think it will bring new ways. So guys, as I said, please go ahead and type your conversations. What I will do is, Sarah, if you, can I share the screen? Perfect. Okay. Now, I'm just going to give you a few pointers from a recruitment point of view. Let me start with this slide, Internet of all things. now it's not just the future of work, the trends in the future, it's now. The Internet of Things will be such a commonplace tool. You know, I think all of the baby boomers and Generation X have now been forced to learn every, you know, Zoom, Hangout, GoToMeeting, WebEx. So the Internet of Things is something that is only going to continue and become huge. AI, as we all know, is transforming many, many things in businesses. But I think there will be a lot of innovation in the workspace design, as Sarah said. You know, if we are working from home and you are sending an employee to work from home, you still are responsible as an employer to make sure that they have the right chair to sit on, that they take regular breaks, that their work is not having a health impact on them. And not just the innovation in the workspace design, but because as a society we are much more comfortable talking about mental illness, there's consequences of pressure and stress. So what we will see, not only seeing now, but growing to see a lot more, is employee well-being initiatives, apps that can track employees, but really employee well-being is going to become much more at the forefront. And this is what Corona has also pushed that forward. You know, it's not just what have you done today, but saying, how are you today? Because you don't know how the same circumstances can affect different people depending on their own personal. And then one of the bigger things that we are already beginning to see is employees being brand advocates. We can see that with Glassdoor, and this is only going to continue more and more. So for example, in the consumer market, if I am to go onto Amazon and I want to buy a pair of headphones, first I'm going to look in my price range, but the second thing I'm going to do is look at how many testimonials have been left for that product, how many people have left recommendations or any kind of comments, and employers will become more and more like this. So employees and how they're treated, they will become the actual brand ambassadors of your employer and the company. Now, when we look at recruitment as well, we've already seen the huge shift moving from IQ to EQ. So we used to always hire via IQ, we now hire EQ. And it's not your age, it's not how much you can do or whatever else. It really is, can you deliver? Can you work with people? And you know, emotional intelligence is really communicating, building relationships, and that ability to learn and work with staff members instead of being in that back office. Also, what we will begin to see, and we are already seeing, is that we are going to go beyond the job description. A lot of you who have, if you are still using job descriptions, you are just making your recruitment highly transactional with very little yielding at the end of the day, but it depends on the role. But recruitment will take more of a shape in marketing. You know, it will not just be, hey, here's a job. It will be a lot more focused on telling a story, creating employee branding, getting people to come to you because you want to be seen. We are seeing this a lot with employers like Google. You know, what they are saying is, you know, they advertise their working space, for example, to say that, oh, you're tired, here's a sleeping room, or you want to play gaming, here's a gaming room, or you want to do. So what they do is they show all the other areas that matter. And again, it depends what generation or demographic your current employees are or you are looking to attract. But really, recruitment marketing and employee branding will become pretty strong. What we will also see, and we are seeing this a great deal in technology. Now, right now, if you click and apply for a job, there are application tracking tools that will pick this up and kind of tell you, here's a good shortlist. But what we will begin to see more and more, and we, for example, HireVue is a fantastic product. I was a big advocate when they first launched a good few years back. But what HireVue would do for you is you can basically ask candidates to answer 5 questions, 2 questions, any questions that you want, and then decide how long the question would last. So what that does is allows us to pre-screen. Safaricom is already implemented HireVue. What we are also going to find in terms of technology is that a lot of interviews will be recorded, or you will have like a tool, like a HireVue, that will ask you specific questions that is pre-recorded. And then a lot of algorithms will pick up from there whether you are saying the right keywords or not. So a lot of changes, I think, and I'm hoping this is where the gig economy, or especially the new generation, not millennials, you are already getting to, but Generation X really, they don't want to come back and be interviewed by one manager and then come back another manager and then, oh, that happened another. No, interviewing, you will lose candidates. If you are going to start putting processes for recruitment in place, like you are asking the candidates to dedicate 2 to 3 or 4 hours just to go through your application or selection process because you're asking them to do tests upon tests, you will lose a lot of people. So the technology will become a lot more, there will be a lot more recording. There'll be a lot more data stored of your previous interviews and notes. So technology is also going to move in that. We are seeing a lot also in virtual reality. There's a lot of virtual reality case playing. So if you are hiring a customer service and you want somebody who can deal with a very irate customer, you put them in that scenario through virtual reality. So you are not asking is, tell me about a difficult situation. You put them in a difficult situation and then you see how they actually react and what they do. So the selection and the tools used will change substantially. And of course, onboarding. I cannot tell you, onboarding, it is the most important part of recruitment, and it starts from the moment they click and apply or they reach out to you. That recruitment process that you put them through, you know, getting them communicate, getting them to just really take them through as a human being through the stages. This is why headhunting, really, I build relationships with my clients. And if I see a client who is not coming back, asking for more, not communicating, I will withdraw. Why? Because this now puts the candidate in a very difficult position. So onboarding, giving that first, the whole experience from I want to work for you potentially to coming on board and then getting them indoctrinated. If you get this part right, you will get retention, you will get really the best employee branding. And then the gig economy, of course. When it comes to the gig economy, it means if we look at a role, it's all broken down into chunks. So gig economy can be sometimes repetitive. I mean, being an Uber driver is gig economy. It means you decide when you work, how long you work. So there's lots of gig economy type of platforms. We have some jobs that are more leading, like IT jobs, marketing, or kind of graphic editing, anything that can be done potentially remotely. But when it comes to the gig economy, we know the Generation X has an 8-second attention span. So when you are actually, the whole gig economy, the application process will be, there are already some, turned into almost like a gamification process. Instead of you asking them to read questions upon questions, you could have a little bot reading them, giving them multiple options. But it has to be a highly engaging process for them to remain, as I said, 8-second attention span. So we need to start thinking in the new economy, the recruitment, because you are not just hiring. And also one of the key things that I really want to say is, because we are moving to new industries, e-commerce, fintech, agri-tech, and if we look at the old organization and the new organization, you will find that the type of, you know, the employee structure changes. You know, if you have companies that are selling online, they don't need B2C. Sales has shifted really, really substantially. So let me just, sorry, I'm just looking, okay, I'll take 5 more minutes. Let me just move very quickly. One of the things that I will say is this: we are confusing the job seeker, really confusing the job seeker. First of all, each company has their own recruitment process and they don't explain that right at the forefront. Also, job descriptions are just as dry as CV. When you come to me as a client and you give me a brief, the key requirements you first give me is, I want trustworthy, I want good communication, I want somebody who's got an eye for detail, I want somebody who's a self-starter. None of these I can see on a CV. So you have to start going beyond the job description. One of the things I recommend is that you start getting the hiring manager, put the hiring manager on a job description, get him to talk about the department, the dynamics, what we are looking, so you are attracting the right type of individual. So make your job board a lot more, as Sarah said, some of these are created in 1885, you know, so they're not as relevant. So job description need to communicate a lot more. Also, the tools that we use and the technology, because HR are genuinely very, very busy individuals, what happens is that you are doing everything. You are onboarding, you are doing appraisals, you are restructuring the salary, you are doing everything. And then recruitment comes and it's highly transactional. You post a job, you get people referring left, right, and center, and you still don't have. So when we are using tools, let's use them smartly, not transactionally. Don't use them just so that you are making your process easy, but do it in a smart way so you can capture the right information. And then the interview process is still highly subjective. I still have clients who say to me, I have these last two candidates, you know, I want to compare them, who is the better one? You cannot compare two candidates. Each human being, one is a goat, one is a bird, you know, we are completely different. The idea is when you are bringing, you are removing subjectivity, what you need to do is make sure that you understand what are your top competencies, either 5, 7, no more than 10. And then when you're interviewing that individual, score that person against that specific competency so that we can. Also, we over-interview. Why do we over-interview? Because we are looking to eliminate risk. Let Sarah talk to him. Let Angie talk to him. Let so-and-so talk to him. But what we don't understand is that all of us have gone through interviews and we know how draining the interview process is. Communication on a regular basis, this is very important, even if it's a quick WhatsApp message. And, you know, don't put too many chiefs to cook, you know, advice on how to cook a scrambled egg. So if you are going to bring different people into the interview process, give them specific areas. Can you just evaluate this or evaluate that? Because my personal opinion of interviewing Sarah versus Jackson interviewing will always be subjective to some extent or other. So, and then feedback, again, the communication that is very important. And finally, what I really would say is that we have to stop making recruitment reactive. It's every time you have a one recruitment drive, you now go and do so much for that one recruitment drive. And then it's finished. Then another one. It's very reactive. So what I say to you is that you should be hiring all year round. Look at your departments, look at your organizations, look at where potentially the risk is. And you as the HR or recruiter should not take full responsibility on doing every single interview. The hiring manager, trained with a little bit, can actually do that. Make sure at least once a month, half of an afternoon is dedicated to interviewing, whether there is a job open or not. So don't just hire reactively. Create pipelines and structures for your businesses and get your hiring managers to do the interview as often as possible. And then plan your recruitment needs. You know, this where HR is sitting against businesses. What are we looking to gain? And again, do not think that you can get the skill that you are looking for in Kenya. You can get your skill anywhere. Corona has made us go global at an even faster rate. You can get people from Timbuktu to South America to anywhere, and they will provide a lot of the services that you actually need. So plan your recruitment needs. Think outside the box so that you are not thinking, oh, I need a finance, I'll go and follow the same process. Do you really need finance? And this is where I come in. The amount of times I've been given a job request and I sit there and I dissect it and I go, no, you don't need this person. You have too many chiefs here. You need to restructure. So plan your recruitment needs and then build pipelines. Don't just post on job boards and that's it. Build that employee branding, get referrals to come in and hire really all year round. So when it comes to Just Work, the way we work basically is we work on a contingency fee. That means you have no cost until you've made your hire. Now, when it comes to turning around, we can turn things around. Even I've seen headcount being turned around within 24 hours, but don't do this to me, please. We can turn things around very, very quickly. Within 1 week to 2 weeks, you could be. The process from beginning to end usually takes a month at the most. It depends on the seniority, etc. And then when it comes to when you come to us, what we give you is a really big, wide pool of candidates. I don't advertise. We do not advertise because it does not yield. It does not yield what you really need. It just makes you busier and everything else moves. So what we do is mapping a great deal. candidate, company mapping, industry mapping, competency mapping. And once we've done all of that, we then do all of the interview structures for you. So by the time we send you, we are not CV pushers, which means you are not going to get more than 3 to 5 CVs per headcount at the most. And all of them are pre-screened, vetted, they fit everything. So you go straight into interviewing. And I'll be able to share more information really when it comes to our recruitment process and how we can support you, etc. So I think that's my part done, and we've got some questions coming up.
Okay, good.
Would
Thank
be
you.
Great to hear some feedback.
Okay, great. Thank you, Natalia. Thank you, Sarah, for walking through the participants today on how to manage remote workers remotely, what they need to do, how they need to do with their approach also to start getting into that mind shift that is moving businesses to the next level. These challenges, as we know, is something that was unplanned for or didn't have a heads up, but we have to survive it. So we're going to go to the Q&A. We've got a couple of questions I've seen that have been addressed to both of you, Sam to Sarah. So James really...
Could you read some of them out, Jackson?
Yes, so this is from James Riri. How do I approach a company at such a time in the name of looking for an opportunity? This is an open-ended question, so the speakers can go first and maybe give their views.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very strong recruitment question. Now, what I believe is that you should not manage your career reactively, which means you should not rely just on the jobs that are online. There are many, many, many jobs that companies have not put online. They are still deciding, and just because they are online does not mean, if a company does not have a job advertised, does not mean that they might not have a potential or a current requirement. The idea is to plant your seeds, keep going to as many hiring managers, and don't just say, hey, here's my profile, give me a job. Don't approach businesses and give them a task. Ask them, I like what you're doing. I'm very interested in the company dynamics. I'm not aware if you have a role, but should you do that, I'd be very interested to be, to find out a little bit more. Make it a little bit more of a two-way conversation rather than for help me, get me a job, I need a job. The approach needs to be much more value add, much more, kind of don't write a huge email, just short to the point. Who can I contact? In fact, this is what we do in our career development. We show you how to verify emails, how to find the right stakeholders, how to go to them and get them to engage with you, whether a job is open or not. Sarah, what do you think about that?
I think it's very important, as Natalia says, we should stop being very reactive in terms of looking for jobs right now. Anytime, anyway, you need to just develop your own value. And I think the more you look at your career and become a magnet, things will come to you and opportunities will come to you, rather than you just pushing yourself out there and thinking, the more I approach, the more I'll get a job and everything. I know there's anxiety. I know we need money at this time, especially for the people who've lost jobs and everything. Maybe you can start off. I always say something that my coach told me many years ago. If you don't have a child, you can start by volunteering at the local nursery. And maybe then when you get blessed with your own child, you'll be able to look after that child. So right now you have skills, you have experience, you have knowledge. You can utilize those, even helping in a local community or a local space, and then see what can happen as long as you're still pushing your career forward. So that's what I would advise anybody right now who finds themselves in a layoff or in a job search space. Don't be too reactive, but utilize your time in a better way to continue growing yourself to become a magnet.
Completely. And the one thing that I would say is that if you are going to click and apply, please get your profile digitized. What do I mean by that? You need to input hard skills. So in fact, what we can do for any of you, if you would like us to test your CV, to test your LinkedIn, we have a very simple in-house tool. You simply put in the CV, the job description that you have applied for, and we give you a match rate report that tells you project management was repeated 15 times in the job description, but only once in your profile. Budgeting was repeated 11 times, but only once in your profile. So digitization is when we input keywords like project management again and again and again and again, so that if you click and apply for a job, it is the application tracking tools that are reading, and they always read for hard skills, and then you can be part of applications. So if you are going to use the CV method, then please, we can send you match rate reports to get your profile digitized for any application tracking tools. But more importantly, you should not use the CV to manage your career, guys. The CV lives inside your laptop. Nobody can find you on your laptop. And it means you are managing your career reactively. I'm going to pull it out, click and apply, pull it out, click and apply. No, it's about building a digital footprint, an e-brand on LinkedIn. You can download your LinkedIn. It becomes instantly a CV that you can use to apply. And by having an online profile and the right network, you will get headhunted for the right roles. That is how we should be moving our career as well. Fantastic. Any other questions, Jackson?
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. So this one goes out to Sarah. What are your thoughts on employee re-onboarding post-COVID-19?
I've said it before and I'll say it again. Re-onboarding for employees, especially people who've been there more than 5 years, is something very key. We don't have to wait for a crisis. We don't have to wait for anything. Obviously, there are some certain keys in my presentation today that I pointed to post-COVID that we'll need to embed, especially the new policies. We need to let employees know about those. We need to give guidelines if people are choosing their workspace as home rather than in the office. If they're coming into the office, we need to let them know whether with visual, clear visual policies and processes, or we need to speak to them and run trainings and town halls around how to behave post-COVID within the space, especially respecting social distance, respecting health and safety, which is more enhanced and things like that. But even before COVID, I used to say it's important to re-onboard your employees at least every 5 years, because what tends to happen, and I see in many organizations, is we have fantastic onboarding programs for new employees. And now as HR, we keep really reconnecting with ourselves and improving the way we do things. And so we give better onboarding to a new employee than to an older employee who joined 5 years ago, which is sometimes unfair. They come in knowing much more about the company and where it's going and what they need to do and the policies, and they start even teaching somebody who's been there for a long time. So it's important that you keep people aligned by making sure that you're regularly doing re-onboarding for some of these people. I also think, as we think about re-onboarding, we are also thinking about exits in a revolving door. And so some of the things that you can talk about is how even when you're outplaced, you can still engage with the company. And so really tapping into the brand and remaining attuned to the brand, even if you have to leave or you go into part-time. Don't forget your part-time employees. Don't forget the employees maybe who decide to go on unpaid leave because they are sick or because they have to care for somebody and everything. So keeping them re-onboarded as well is something very key. So looking at which groups will need to be re-onboarded when they come back in. I also sometimes talk about mothers. You know, there are people who are having new babies during this time, or maternity leave and things like that. And as I've said, the people who will be on terminal illnesses, so they won't be seen at work. So how do you re-onboard those people while taking into context their emotional space and their head space at that time? So I think our onboarding programs are going to be more holistic, take into take into consideration the company strategy and the things that they need to put in the onboarding, the team strategy and connecting teams, especially offsite teams together, and manager orientation of employees who are coming back, and understanding where the employees and the managers' relationship is going to be, especially building trust, as I've said. And finally, looking at the emotional onboarding of your employees, because you might onboard people physically and mentally, but you don't onboard them emotionally. So those are things that is very important. And I mean, I'm doing a write-up on that. So anybody who is interested, I can also share with you in the next 2 weeks, it will be ready.
Okay, good.
Thank
Thanks.
Fantastic.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
So the
Thank you.
last
I
sort
saw
of
one question here, which is, I think, from Moses. My God, it says, one day I went for an interview with a certain bank in Westlands. At the beginning of the process, there were 5 panelists. When my time, I think it was clocked, out of 5, only 2 were remaining. As a candidate, what will be in your mind? Well, if I've gone in and there are 5 people interviewing me, and then all of a sudden 3 of them have left, this is very, very unprofessional, first of all. Already, this is to me, guys, remember that interview is a 2-way process. You know, when you go to an interview, look at how you are being treated. You know, look at how long they keep you waiting. I've had a candidate call me and say, listen, I've been here for 2 hours and nobody said anything to me. Leave. You know, it's a 2-way thing. Now, what I would say is when it comes to interviews, never ever let your guard down. It is irrelevant what they do. If the interviewer cuts you halfway through or doesn't, that could be maybe a way of testing you or not. But generally, I would say that it doesn't make sense to have a panel of 5 people and then leaving. I could make excuses and say maybe the interview time ran out and they had other meetings to do, but it would have mattered how they would have communicated that. To me, that is very unprofessional to start with. You cannot bring somebody 5 panelists and then people are coming and going. How can you concentrate to answer your questions fully? Yeah. Okay. Any other ones?
Those are the ones that were there, and I think we've covered the Q&A. Maybe if anybody has a question that they would like to raise at this point, we'll give you the opportunity to ask, please, and also appreciate feedback as you are nearing the closure of the webinar itself.
Please, guys, say a big thank you for Sarah. I want to hear some big thank yous.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. I'm seeing familiar people here. Thank you, Terry, James. I'm seeing you guys. Thank you. Emily, Lucy, thank you. Fantastic. And might I say, Natalia, as always, fantastic session you've put together and great lessons, I think, for everybody who came on board today. Amazing. And good questions as well from the participants. So thank you. And thank
Absolutely. Thank you so much. If you guys have no more questions, we've done pretty well. We are only 4 minutes over. This is great. Always trying to keep on top of time. So guys, if you need anything, please feel free to reach out to me, to Sarah. You know where we are. And if I would ask you anything is please, if you found this of value, I would really appreciate if you can give us some love on the social media platforms. You choose your method and you choose your words, but we would appreciate some endorsement, if I could say that.
Thank you very much. And Natalia, if people can join our session again on Saturday, that would be really great.
By the way, if any of you would, so basically there is a new company called Tai Chi. Sorry, I'm really, what we are doing is because SMEs really struggle in running companies, and I say this, I am an expert in this. You see, when you are setting up a company, it becomes very difficult to set up your finance department, your legal department, your operations, your technical department, your this. So Sarah is running an organization that really supports businesses, take all of that away and set them up for them. So on Saturday, guys, you'll be more than welcome. We'll share the link. What we are doing is I'm going to share my personal story of really showing how much value Sarah has also added to me in terms of getting all of these. So and next Wednesday, every Wednesday, we have a free Wednesday webinar. Next Wednesday, it is moving from field sales to virtual sales. We have a fantastic panelist for that. So if you're interested in sales, that would be a great one. How do I get onto virtual sales? Fantastic.
Fantastic, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good. There's one more is it a comment? Somebody did a comment on this from you, Natalia. Let me just find it. So somebody was asking, kindly say something in regards to the misconception that institutions are not hiring during this COVID period. So,
yes.
something they wanted some from that.
Absolutely. Now, we have to think of it in a way, in a very logical way. We can observe what industries are not hiring. So we can't go to restaurants, for example, right now. We can't do certain things. But I assure you, there is a lot of recruitment that is still going on. And what I want you to start thinking is this. The fastest global trend growing at over 1,000% is home working. There are hundreds and thousands of online jobs where your location is irrelevant. So what I would say is that you find some companies have gone into panic. Oh my God, I'm going to stop everything. But that panic is now slowed down. Why? They know that if they don't hire and continue their business, it's not going to survive. So they are being more cautious in who they hire. The type of contracts may not be more permanent type of contracts. So it's usually piece. And what you find is that people are thinking a bit more in how they select. So they're not just doing the interview, they're actually doing a little bit more to bring out. So not just case scenarios, but really get to test the person slightly differently. So some businesses are still hiring, many are still hiring, and there are hundreds of jobs online. And the idea of, somebody made a comment of Upwork and Fiverr is not just Upwork or Fiverr. There are literally mums for hire, mums at home for mothers. There are so many online jobs. And the beauty is this, you can gain the skill very quickly and then go and actually deliver, which is the beauty. Reskilling, etc. Yeah.
And I think it's important for people to realize delivering online is very different to delivering offline. And so maybe gaining the skills on how do you really engage. Speed is very important. Communication is very key. Building trust and speed of trust is very important. Actually, there's a book on that. And so they're two different approaches. So don't think what got you here will get you there. So really pick up those skills of being able to deliver and engage online customers if you want to get into platforms such as that. Because you're not just delivering a service, you're also delivering you. So how are you able to do that online?
Fantastic. Thank you.
Okay. Excellent.
All right. Thank you again, Sarah. Guys, have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Happy Wednesday afternoon.
Thank you guys for everything you shared.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Hey, there's a baby.
Thank you, Natalia. Bye.
Bye.
Fantastic. Hey, that's goodness.
Can I say hi?
Okay. Is that your personal assistant?
Yes, it is for today.
Well, you know there are laws against child labor.
At this time, everything goes.
Yes, it's true. Survive.
Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you.
Okay, guys.